workshop now with our host, Ahmed Mohammed. He's the CEO and founder of U vs. U Limited, Phoenix Community Care Ambassador and Bank of England Youth Board Forum member. And we'll be hosting a workshop on personal growth and how to become your best self. Ahmed Mohammed, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me here today, just to share my own journey in hoping to inspire and motivate all the students that are here and all the people that are here today. And I just wanted to say, well done to, it's Sunday, everyone, you guys could be in your bed sleeping or just catching up on Netflix, but you're here today to learn, and you should, give yourself a round of applause for that, because some people will be like, no, why should I be here? But bear in mind, there are people that Sundays are the days where they learn or invest in something or make money. So be proud. I'm just going to share my journey. Today I'm the CEO and founder of U vs. U, but it wasn't an easy journey to get to where I am today. If I was to take us back to 2010, that was the year that I came to the UK. So my name is Ahmed Mohammed. I was born in Nigeria, matured in the UK, and coming into the UK, I came to the UK as an unaccompanied asylum seeker. I'm from the northern part of Nigeria, where the whole Boko Haram happened. And when I arrived in the UK, I didn't even know I was coming to the UK. But then I got to the UK, and the person that brought me here said to me at the airport that he's coming back. And that was it. He never came back. And up to date, I've never seen that person again in my life. And I was at the age of 14, September 2010. I was homeless because English wasn't my first language. I find it hard to communicate. In September, it was cold for me. I had no jacket on. I was just up and down on the street for about 2 weeks. And it was very challenging surviving on just begging, finding food, on the ground. And someone found me because they realized I'm just, I don't know, somehow maybe they noticed that I've been on the street for quite a long period of time. And that's where he asked me a question, and I said I had nowhere to go, and I was taken to the police station. And when I was at the police station, they asked me a question about my family. I said I had no family members in the country. I was brought to this country and I was abandoned at the airport, even though the communication was very limited at that time because English wasn't my first language, like I mentioned. And I slept at the police station till the next day. And at this time, I didn't even know what was going on. I was just following whatever they said to me. And bear in mind where I came from back home, we don't question adults, we don't question certain things, we just follow. And for me, I was so scared and worried about my safety because I've been on the street not knowing if I will survive till the next day, and slept in the police station. The next day another police took me to a different family. And I didn't even know I was going to a family, but we came to this house and a lady turned up and she said, oh, hi, I'm a social worker. I didn't even know what that means at that age. But I was taken into this Eritrean family where it was mentioned that this would be my foster family. And I'm Muslim, they're Christians, she have her own children. And my foster mom is actually the person that breaks it down for me to say, this is what's going on. I'm a foster mom, and the lady you saw earlier, she's a social worker. And she said to me, she's been a foster mom for about 15 years. And she have her own children that live with her. They're adult, university graduate, and she have 2 other foster kids. Still, didn't make sense to me. I was like, you're a new person to me. I don't even know you. But I was just at that moment, not happy, but kind of like, I'm not on the streets anymore. But I was worried because I don't even know where my parents are. I don't know if they're alive, dead. I wasn't sure. But then, as you know, in the UK, you need to have your passport, you need to have your, legal residence. However, because I'm with the local authority, I was able to start school in December. And going into school, that was a different world for me. I came from a place where I was taught by, a blackboard, a chalk, and we just learned, it wasn't nothing digital. But then starting school, I had to adapt, learn the language. I remember my first day in school when I was with this group of my classmates and they were just speaking. I was like, I had no clue on what they were talking about. One, English wasn't my first language. Two, for me, they just speak too fast. And so often I had to say to them, like, just slow down because I had no clue on what you're talking about. But eventually, I think I remember the first day that I did PE in my school, and the boys were like, "Oh, you're probably good at football, maybe play for the school team." But then I had to pick my GCSEs. School, I really enjoyed school. I really enjoyed school because I did what I have to do. However, because my school doesn't have any educational background about me, I was predicted 5 GCSEs in when I was in school, and that's only if I work hard. I'll get 5 GCSEs, including maths and English. And I remember going to school to do like parents' evening with my social workers. All I had on my report was like D's and E's, but those terminology, I didn't really understand it. But my foster mom would always say to me, Ahmed, you have to work hard. You've had a crazy journey to get to the UK. You can't fail. And my social worker will always encourage me to do well. But then by the end of year 11, I achieved 10 GCSEs, grade A to C, including maths and English. And the school were really surprised. I had so many certificates that I achieved in my school. I was invited as one of the top 100 best students in my school, best role model. But these things didn't happen. It happens because I've put in the effort, even though despite some of the things that I was going through, I don't really understood them. But then playing sports for my school, I had so much opportunities where I was scouted to play for a professional football club called Dagenham and Redbridge. And all what they say to me was, all you need is just have your maths and English GCSE. So now life seems like it's good for me. I've came to this country now without my family, still trying to trace my family, and sports kind of bring more friends. Did well in my GCSEs, and now I had to get my resident permit in the country, where from the age of 14, I was given just 2.5 years. It's called discretionary leave to remain by the Home Office, which for me, I don't really know what difference it makes if you have a British passport or you have your legal resident. For me, it was like, okay, I'm fine. But what happened was when I finished year 11, started my football scholarship. I was going Barking and Dagenham College. I go football 4 days a week, and one day I go to college, and that's just the whole regime of football scholarships. So I do the same thing with all my football mates. In 2012, when I was about to renew my legal residence, that was when things started going down for me, because I just made the same application to the Home Office to extend my stay. This time around, I'm 18. I had to leave care into semi-independent. I don't know if you guys know about how the care system works. When you're under 18, you could stay with foster families. But from the age of 18, you have to move into semi-independent, kind of preparing you for the real life. I never had to cook for myself, but going into becoming a care leaver, I was only surviving on, I would say maybe 30 something pound a week. I don't know how they expect you to survive on that. But then when my legal residence expired, my football club I couldn't sign a professional contract because I had no passport. But this time I had, my national insurance number. I remember going to my solicitor, my football managers. She was saying I could go to Tesco and work, but they were saying, yeah, but he has no passport. He has no passport. I can't. The FA wouldn't sign me. So I have to drop out from a football scholarship and drop out of college. I had no job at 18. It was very frustrating for something that I thought could take maybe 4 to 8 weeks for me to get my legal residence again and just get on with my life. 1 month, 2 months. Then when the college said, you know what, we can't have you anymore because there's no passport and you're not doing the football program, that was when things started to become reality for me. And becoming a care leaver, the kind of support you get is kind of different because you're now an adult. Life was tough, you know, seeing all my friends that we started together, living their best life, doing all what they could do, but I couldn't do the same thing because of my background. And the club kind of proposed to the college saying, oh, can you just allow him to finish the college, just go in 1 day a week? And imagine going to college 1 day a week and seeing your mates that you usually see every day playing football. They will come to college just that 1 day, talking about the games they played in the weekend, but you're just there quiet without contributing to any conversation and thinking what would happen. But that journey actually took, for me to get my legal residence again, it took 4 years. And within that 4 years, it was hell because I was tempted to do so many wrong things, you know, with the whole mental health issue that didn't really make sense to me at that age. There's been moments where going to the train platform and be like, Ahmed, just jump, you know, jump on this train. You know, there's no need of leaving. You know, if you can't be a young person, why are you living? Like, there's no point because 4 years of my life wasted. But then I had people around me. My foster mom still kept in contact with me. I had a mentor that would say to me, go and volunteer, you know, drag me out of my house, come to my house, be like, you have to come out. Some kind of little qualification that I could do. They would be like, go and do it. But I was fortunate again to be offered an apprenticeship, which I did business admin. I finished the college, BTech level 3 sports science. Then I did apprenticeship in business admin again. I don't know how this organization did it to get me to do my apprenticeship, despite I don't have a passport. But then I guess being in that apprenticeship, doing that apprenticeship helped me to learn so many different skills. And I was able to achieve so many different certificates. And in 2016, when then the Home Office granted me another leave to remain after 4 years of waiting. But by that time, I've equipped myself with so many skills in the working environment and also life experiences as well. And I had a job. I was offered a job at Tottenham Hospital, working as an employment advisor, working with young children aged 16 to 24. But I realized there is a gap. There are children that come to this country like myself that are refugees, had nothing, language was a barrier. They couldn't access different services. And I decided I've always wanted to give back to my community because of my own journey and the people that have helped me. And I decided to have my own organization, and I called it You versus You Limited. And through the work that I've been doing in my community, helping caregivers, children in care, young refugees to build their confidence, help them to understand the system and the care system as well, just making them realize, you know, they're unique in their own way. And I registered my business in 2018 without any guidance. You know, I was just like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm just do it. I just went online, how to register a business, and I had friends that kind of knew what I do, and they're like, no, you have to, you know, either be a charity. You can't be doing this for free. And I was like, no, I just wanted to do it for free. But then I registered my business, and I remembered when I registered my business, I went to register a bank account for it, and 2 weeks later, they said, oh, we can't, you know, open a bank account for your business. I was like, why? They said something to do with my credit score. And I was like, I was speaking to a friend. I said, imagine this is what happens. And he was like, do you have a credit card? I was like, no, these are things that we don't learn in school, or school wouldn't teach you. And he said, just get some credit cards and just use it. So I applied for credit cards. 3 weeks later, I started using them. Then I went back to a different bank, and they were able to register a business account for me. And I paid myself £5 because I was like, in order for someone to invest in your business, you need to be able to invest in yourself. And I paid myself £5 into my business account. And I was like, okay, now what next? But then I've already built network within my community. I know how the, you know, sector works. So I applied for a pot of money. And 2 weeks later, I was offered £1,000 to do a project a 3 days project for refugees in my community. And I was like, wow, from £5 to £1,000, that's a big jump. And that kind of gave me that confidence to say, you know what, you have your skills, you know, the people that you want to work with, you're real, just continue. And that's how I started to grow from there. And in when Theresa May was in power, I was invited to number 10 Downing Street because of my contribution in the society and the kind of work that I do. That for me, I couldn't believe someone like myself could be in that platform with other senior or highly recommended people in the country. That was a mind blowing for me. I remember going back home and still reflecting on it. And I met Harry Redknapp at Downing Street. But last year, 2020, with the whole pandemic that was happening, I had a phone call and I was told that I will be meeting someone who is a VIP. I was like, who am I meeting? They're like, we can't tell you because of security purpose. It's like, okay. So I remember going down to the Bank of England, and guess who turns up? It was Prince Charles. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it, because that would never cross my mind for someone like myself, my type of background, where I came from, all the challenges, to be the one to be invited to meet with Prince Charles. But all I'm saying is, all these things didn't happen because my name is Ahmed. I've got this, this journey, and I turned it around because society would have projected someone like myself to either be in jail or doing drugs or just be on the street, being a young Black man as well. But today, my activities and my job, I'm a CEO, I'm founder of You versus You, like I say. I'm a peer outreach worker at the GLA, advocating for all young Londoners, the policy and decision maker. I'm an educational mentor with Enfield Local Authority. I'm a key worker and also an ambassador for Phoenix community. I work with content creative. I'm a semi-professional football player. I'm a project manager at the university, and I'm also a Bank of England ambassador. All of this work that I do here actually pays. And what I'm saying is, you can choose the life you want to live. The same system that failed people is the same system that other people use to become successful. Everything that you do is down to you, regardless of your background or where you come from. You can be you're unique in your own way. I didn't have the opportunity to go to university, but all I'm saying is, I did the basic in terms of putting myself out there to learn, to any little certificate that I could achieve. Do not let the society define what you can become in the future, because at the end of the day, you can have your grades, but then if you don't put in the work, your grades become nothing. It's the skills that you have. Whatever you want to do, just make sure do it with purpose. Just choose something that you really love, and find the right people around you to kind of guide you through. Because to be honest, every great success comes with the contribution of people around us, great people around us. No one ever did it alone. I never, get to where I am alone. It's the work of, putting the effort of people around me that were able to support me to get to where I am today. And I'm now in the position where I can offer jobs to other people, young people in my community, and blessed with that. And I just want to say thank you very much to share my journey. Please do, follow me on my social media, Instagram, Twitter. If you have any question, I know we don't have enough time, but, I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ahmed. Like, that story was really inspiring, and I'm sure I'm not just speaking for myself. Well, just from what we've heard, we've definitely gained the importance of being able to overcome your circumstances, just understanding where in society you can add value, and making sure nothing that happens will actually put you. And I would just like to introduce to Rochelle to introduce our next workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you, Ahmed, for that amazing workshop on overcoming adversity. I'd really like to introduce our next workshop, which is going to be held by Francis.
Similar to building a startup, but I just kind of do it for big corporate firms. So today, I just wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, but if you want me to talk about consulting, feel free to ask me any questions as we go along. So imposter syndrome is this, this concept. I'm not sure if any of you've seen this, this image, but essentially anytime you kind of felt that you suck, you're a fake, you're a failure, or you don't deserve it, or you should give up, or you should just stop because you're not going to get something, you've dealt with imposter syndrome. And that's essentially where you feel like you're a fraud, or you're not going to kind of get to the next stage, or everything that you've kind of done today is dumb luck, and you're not really realizing or accepting how amazing each one of you are. And there are 5 types of imposters, okay? And I quickly want to just go through this before I touch upon how I felt like that in my life. So, if you are the perfectionist, you may have gone with imposter syndrome. Sometimes we want everything to be like 100% before we actually go and do it. So that is one type. The other type is the expert, where essentially you feel like everyone's really smart, and if you were smart enough, you already would know what to do. The third one is the soloist, and that's essentially you feel like you have to do everything yourself and you can't lean on anyone. The fourth is the superwoman, where you feel like if you were good, you could do everything really easily. And the last one is that you should just know everything. Now, I'm not sure what you think, but all 5 of these, I've gone through each of these 5, and let me know in the chat maybe if you have. But going through all 5 of these, I've realized that actually it's okay to deal with imposter syndrome, and it's okay to feel like this, but we need to manage it. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and keep this like just me now. So imposter syndrome is even the word syndrome, right? It makes it sound like some sort of disease, but it really isn't. Every time we kind of have imposter syndrome, it's just a way of us feeling uncomfortable. And I kind of see it as actually, hey, I feel uncomfortable, so this must mean that I'm growing in some way. And actually, let me go for it. Instead of that voice in our mind telling us, no, don't do it. Don't bow down to it. Keep on going, because then you know that you're actually growing and you're actually doing something which makes you feel uncomfortable in a good way. So, I'm not going to lie. I have felt this so many times. And let me give you a few examples. So when I was applying to consulting firms, there were certain consulting firms I was like, I'm not going to apply to it because I already know I won't be able to get in. That is so false. Like, you shouldn't even begin to think like that, because the worst that could happen is that they're going to say no. Another way that I felt that was, whenever I start a new project, I'm 4 years into my career, but every time I start a new project, I still feel like, hey, I'm just winging this. This is pure luck. I don't know what I'm doing. I know nothing about the area. Why am I even leading the project? I'm not the right person. And a third time I felt like this, especially, was when I won this award, top 100 women in tech. And I was like, I just won it for pure luck. And even still to this day, I don't kind of acknowledge it, or I don't introduce myself with it, because I'm just like, I didn't deserve it. So these are just a few examples of I felt imposter syndrome, and let me know, later on if you've ever felt like that as well. But I just kind of want to quickly touch upon a few ways that, you can manage it, because it is really important to not let imposter syndrome take over your life. Once it stops you from doing something, that's when it's kind of won and you've lost control. And you're always going to feel imposter syndrome, but you want to manage it. So a few ways that I do that is, firstly, I don't know, some of this sounds really basic, but it really works, I promise you. Sometimes what I do is that I just literally just stop and I look back at everything I've done. And then you realize, if you start tracking all that stuff you've done, if you actually start writing down all that stuff you've done, and maybe when you feel down, you kind of pick it all up and you just read through, like, actually, oh my God, I did this, I did that. And when you're tracking your success, you actually realize how amazingly you've done. You do deserve to be there, and you shouldn't stop yourself from trying new things, because the first time you try something is always going to feel like an obstacle. It's always the hardest time is trying it the first time. And then after you try that, it gets much easier and easier. So the first time you do anything is always the most difficult. The other thing that I think about is, perfectionism is the enemy of, trying to be a bit more profitable and trying to grow a little bit more. So what I try to do is that, hey, I don't need to be a perfect at everything, but let me understand what skills do I need to do that next role better, for instance, right? So I will have to think about what gaps do I need to plug, and I will either train myself or I'll find people who can mentor me to do that. And a third way is that basically I realize that you're not alone, because even my partners who have spent like 30-40 years, they still tell me that, Kajol, I have no clue what the project's gonna do, I have no clue what I'm doing, but hey, let's just go with it and let's just do what the client wants. So even 30-40 years in, you're still gonna feel it, and they still feel it, but it gives me some sort of comfort that actually I'm not the only one who feels like this. So those are like a couple of ways which I deal with imposter syndrome. And I think that everyone is your harshest critic. So everyone is our own harshest critic. So sometimes you need someone else to give you that outside perspective, being like, actually, you know, should you go for it, or, you know, should you not go for it? And they can give you a most objective view. So always try and lean on the network, which you just heard about, building a network to help you and to support you. And literally, like, you know, I still to date regret not applying to certain companies because I felt like I wasn't good enough. So essentially, say yes to anything. The worst you can get is a no. And just reframe it, right? Reframe it. Imposter syndrome, you feel like it, this feeling that you feel of being uncomfortable, it just means growth. And do you want to give into fear, or do you want to just keep on going? So this is like my 10-minute pep talk, and I really wanted to make this really interactive because I know this is a topic which we all feel, that we all go through, and stops us from doing stuff. And actually imposter syndrome is much more higher in women than it is men, apparently. But also want to give you like 10 minutes to ask any questions around it, and even just about consulting or anything like that. I wanted to keep this really interactive. So, you know, feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Let me know, like, now if you want to ask any questions, or I can just keep on talking about imposter syndrome. Or I can go into like breaking glass ceilings and being like a woman in leadership and how that kind of works as well. So just let me know maybe in the chat if there's anything you're interested in. I think, you know, just tying in imposter syndrome to the being a woman in leadership, for a lot of people, even some of my female people above me, they do feel imposter syndrome. And tying into this whole piece about women in leadership, there is a glass ceiling for us women as we try to progress. And, you know, there is a glass ceiling even as ethnic minorities as we try to progress, okay? Like in consulting, 10% of leaders are, you know, Black, brown, ethnic minorities, which is a shocking stat. So there are a couple of things that we also need to do as, you know, ethnic minorities to progress in, you know, in leadership in terms of these glass ceilings. And, you know, first of them is acknowledging some of the biases that are in the, you know, in your corporate job or in the area that you're around. And sometimes we do need to make short-term changes to kind of ensure that we can progress. So one, obviously the firm in itself should be providing unconscious bias in terms of being a female, in terms of ethnic minorities, in terms of moving ahead. And then secondly, there are small changes that we can make. For instance, like I think as women, we don't claim our achievements. So sometimes we feel like that's bragging, but you need to keep on going, and you need to like shout about the work you're doing, because that's when people begin to recognize you and your success, because there's hundreds of other people doing that. Another way that works really well for me is that I try to not spread myself too thin anymore. So I focus on things which are really going to impact my career and help me move to the next milestone. So instead of spreading yourself too thin, say no to things. And I think thirdly, another thing that's really helped me as a female ethnic minority moving, you know, up into leadership is, you know, the third one is stop being a perfectionist, because you need to learn to delegate and let go of control. Because I feel like a lot of us, we want control over everything, we want to make sure it's perfect, but sometimes delegating it allows you to let go of your time to focus on things which really matter to help you progress in the future. So those are a few things which have really helped me. And I can see a message from Jess in the chat. So the question is, hi Kashra, how do you prevent comparing yourself to others within your cohort? so fellow students are co-workers. So that's really interesting because I do feel that we always feel like we need to compare ourselves to someone else, but I do feel that when we do that, we actually stop ourselves from progressing, because we're kind of going into this toxic spiral of okay, like, you know, how good am I? How am I against this person? The way that I stopped comparing myself is literally, I literally sometimes just have to shut down social media. Sometimes I have to not go onto LinkedIn as much, because you know, when you see someone in Dubai, for instance, like, you're living their best life, or when you see on LinkedIn someone who just got like an internship and you're like, oh my god, I didn't get that internship, it just feels really demotivating, and actually that feeling makes it worse for you to achieve your successes. So first thing I do is always track down, as I said, track down what I'm doing, and you know, I'm not just tracking down what I'm doing, but also the impact that I had in that role, or in that internship, or in that, you know, university degree or society, and also how I grew. Because when you reflect on how you grew, that's when you realize that actually you've developed yourself. It might not be as much as someone else has, but you've developed yourself. And let's not forget that every path is going to be different. Some are going to be faster, some are going to be slower. But for me, you know, reflecting on how much I've grown, measuring the gain, not the gap, and secondly, reduce social media. And I know this sounds very basic, but I hope that helps. Pressure. So hi, Casual. Celeste asked, have you ever struggled with being an ethnic minority in the workplace? What's been the most difficult as a person from an ethnic minority, to clarify? Oh, okay. There's always going to be microaggressions when you're in the workplace, right? Actually, let me tell you a couple of like a story, and it might not sound as a big deal, but for this individual it was. So basically we've been having, since Black Lives Matter, Black listening sessions in our firm. So, you know, the firm gets together, we listen to Black colleagues talking about some of the struggles they had in the firm and outside the firm. Now, outside the firm, one person had just joined a graduate scheme, but they weren't comfortable with the area the graduate scheme was, because as in the training, because it's primarily a white area. This guy was coming back, this Black colleague was coming back from a social, and he got attacked by two white men, right? Being like, you know, being like, oh, where are you going? You're going to steal something and all this stuff, right? And he felt uncomfortable even in the area. The idea that he's even feeling uncomfortable to walk into an area, that's not right, okay? So this can also happen even when you're on training in a firm, right? So even outside of the workplace that you're in. And then in the workplace you're in, you're facing microaggressions, right? So you're facing, let's say, someone may not look at you, or they may not, you know, they may disregard your opinion in a meeting, for instance, because we're ethnic minority, and that does happen, okay? Even small comments, like for me being Indian, my food, right, my curries, right, warming up curry in the microwave, oh, like, you know, who's curry, like, you know, who's made the microwave smell, and then obviously just look at you, right? So there's like small things like that, which, you know, you don't really think impacts you, but they all build up until you blow, and you're like, oh my god, like, this is such a toxic environment to work in. So you just need to identify these microaggressions, take this person away, and talk to them on the side. That's what I do now. I don't let it slide. Before, even people say my name wrong, right? Like my name, people call me Kajol, which is like Kajol. Oh, sorry, okay, 4 minutes. Sorry, I realized I'm. People call me like Kajol, so that's like persuading them in an annoying way in the English vocabulary. But my name is actually Kajol, and I used to let that slide. I used to be like, yeah, that's fine. My brother's name is Viral, and right now, well, everyone calls him Viral. So it's not the name you want to have in a pandemic, you know. But you just need to take these people aside, educate them, because one person you educate is going to have a domino effect to someone else, and it's going to ripple, I think, personally. So sometimes you need to call it out, because I used to let it slide all the time. And unless you make a change, unless you call it out, you won't make a change. So that's just one thing I'd like to say. So sorry, I could go on for this for ages, but I'm gonna stop because I'm not got enough time. And say, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Hi, Carter, great, thank you so much. How did you get into consulting, and what does a typical workday look like for you? Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, consulting is really competitive. So you are going to need some sort of work experience. Doesn't need to be consulting. It could be even working in Mackie D's, but anything that gives you transferable skills, so communication, teamwork, logical skills, analytical skills. These are like 4 key skills they're looking for. You know, my dad owns a news agent. My communication skills came from me serving people in the news agent. Okay, so that is transferable to consulting, and you need to pick up these. You need to pick up these skills and kind of show they're transferable. I would also say, so work experience is one. You need to do some sort of extracurricular activity to show that you have passions in consulting. Now that could be going to consulting events. That could also just be, you know, being part of consulting society. Do some sort of extracurricular activity in consulting. And then thirdly, education, like ideally having a 2-1 really does help. But a lot of firms are now stopping, and they're not even looking at grades, or they're not, like EY doesn't look at grades, for instance. So if that's an issue for you, you know, have a think about that. So I would say you need to have 3 things ideally to get into consulting most of the time. And a typical workday for me is very different. There is no typical workday, but there's typical activities you will do when you first join consulting. Firstly, data gathering. You'll be researching. So you'll be talking to customers, talking to stakeholders, or looking on the internet. You'll then analyze all the information, gain some insights from it, and understand what does that actually mean. Put it into a deliverable and present it back to your client. And then basically a lot of the time, that's essentially helping them to solve a problem. Sometimes you could do delivery work where you're actually doing the work, not just telling them what to do, but you're actually doing the work that you told them to do. So that's another part of consulting as well. So I know I went into it really quickly, but happy to talk about that. If you just want to message me over Instagram, my YouTube or whatever, just feel free to get in touch, and I'll put it into the chat. If you want to get in touch, I will put it into the chat after this. Any other questions? I'm just going to put my stuff into the chat so you can get in touch. Feel free to ask me any questions. If not, I think I've literally made time limit for you.
Yeah, you have. Thank you so much, Kajal, again for joining us here today. Like, your workshop has been so inspirational, infectious, and we just thank you again. Also, I do remind everyone, please do go over to Kajal's YouTube channel. I've literally binge watched half of her videos. Do like, comment, share, subscribe. It's such an interactive channel, especially for those in the corp who want to go into the into consulting. So